Hello, and welcome to today's online gathering. Thank you to Ange Woodburn for recording this service. My name is Ingrid Hoffmann, an elder of the Temple Society, offering today's contemplation on my chosen theme of collaboration. I have selected this theme for the pressing reason that we all long for peace in the Middle East. And the East-Western Divan Orchestra is a shining example of holding fast to its mission despite the horrendous, heartbreaking circumstance of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Collaboration is at the heart of the orchestra's purpose, and their performances demonstrate how music can overcome cultural and political barriers. We heard at the beginning an excerpt from Mozart's Sinfonia Concertante for oboe, played by the East-Western Divan Orchestra, conducted by Daniel Barenboim. I acknowledge the ancient collaboration with nature, practiced by the peoples who have lived on this country for millennia, my current location being Cairns in far north Queensland. Here, the Gimoy Wallabora Yidinji people have a continuing connection to lands, waters, ancestors, and communities. Their stories, traditions, and cultures represent millennia of accumulated knowledge and, as mentioned, collaboration with the natural world. I also acknowledge our Templar Christian-based heritage, which reflects a history successful of collaborative ventures, not least of which is the spiritual support of members by elders, one of whom I am honoured to be. Before looking at the main theme, our text for today is the well-known parable of the prodigal son, prodigal meaning wasteful or recklessly extravagant. I am indebted to fellow elder Renate Beilharz, who presented her service on this parable linked to her theme of wisdom in August 2022 at the Bayswater Chapel, in honour of the late Hulda Wagner. Renate narrated the parable in a series of nifty dot points. It goes like this, from Luke 15, verses 11 to 33. There was once a man with 2 sons. The younger son is unhappy and demands his half of the inheritance. So the father divides his property between the 2 sons. The son leaves home, while his father watches on with sorrow. The son goes to a faraway country and comes to a magnificent city. There he quickly makes friends who are eager to help him spend his money. He enjoys the wild living and party lifestyle. Then a famine hits the country. His money runs out and his friends desert him. The son has to leave the city to look for work. A citizen of the country gives him work looking after pigs. It is one of the most unclean jobs a Jewish boy could imagine doing. He becomes very hungry and wishes he could eat the bean pods the pigs are given. He thinks of the food that the servants have at his father's home, regrets his foolish behavior, and wants to put things right with God and his father. He heads back home to beg his father to accept him as one of his servants. His father sees him coming and is full of love for his disobedient son. He runs to greet him and throws his arms around him and kisses him. The son confesses he has sinned against God and his father. He is no longer worthy to be called a son. His father tells the servants to bring his son the best robe, sandals, and a ring for his finger. The fatted calf is killed, and a celebration feast begins. Meanwhile, the older son returns from working in a field and asks one of the servants what the music and dancing is all about. On hearing his younger brother has returned, he is angry. His father goes out to plead with him to join the celebrations. The son complains how unfair it is that he has been working hard without any celebrations, but his brother, who has been squandering money, is treated to a feast. His father explains that everything he has belongs to the older son, and they must celebrate his lost son being found. The forgiving father celebrates, leaving the older son deciding how he is going to react. The parable teaches that human beings grow wiser through our life experiences, and there is a deep desire on the father's part for a collaborative family unit to be restored. Let's sing or listen to hymn number 93. It's our first and only hymn. Prayer of St. Francis, number 93, beginning, "Make me a channel for your peace." Collaboration means motivating one another and working jointly on constructive and/or creative projects. I elaborated on this in the upcoming September edition of Templar Talk via an inspiring international example of an exceptionally inclusive collective that I mentioned, the East-Western Divan Orchestra. This was co-founded in 1999 by the late Edward Said, a Palestinian intellectual, and Daniel Barenboim, an Argentine-Israeli pianist and conductor. At the orchestra's heart lies a strong defense of the values of peace and tolerance through the universal language of music. Since finding a home in Seville, Spanish musicians are part of the West-Eastern Divan Orchestra, joining the young Arab, Palestinian, and Israeli musicians in intensive work programs, developing their music skills and sharing scores, their dining halls, and above all, their passion for music. During their orchestral workshops, the cross-cultural connections the musicians make symbolize how political and cultural differences could be overcome between the countries represented in the orchestra. It also operates as a forum for reflection and dialogue on the Arab-Israeli problem. Here, Ange assists us by inserting a short video about the West-Eastern Divan Orchestra on YouTube. It was filmed by the Wall Street Journal.
It was Arthur Schnabel, the great German pianist, who said to play music well, you have to look for the line of most resistance. The homogeneity in the orchestra comes from common thought. Everybody is equal in the orchestra, and you will find no other area of life where there will be a Palestinian playing a solo and all the Israelis would be helping him and wishing him well, and vice versa.
My musical experience was born here. I started to play since I was 11 years. I was born here. I come from Nazareth. It's a Palestinian city in Israel. Some of my friends don't really get it. In Nazareth, each one has something. So like football players, they practice the whole day. So why not violin?
When you grow up, you sort of see Israelis, or the other side, if you will, as just one gigantic group. Right? You don't necessarily see that there's any gradations in their feelings, which is to say that, yeah, all they're interested in is just taking our land, killing our people, and that's that. But the thing is, what you don't realize, there actually are variations. Yeah, it's not just one group and not just one thought, obviously. So, I mean, in that sense, Divan was very useful because you don't really get to meet people, you know, I mean, from the other side regularly. It's just not a part of my life, obviously, in Jordan.
Growing up, you know, I would just see terrible things in the media. I thought they were all very aggressive and just hated us and wanted to kill us all. And of course, you know, meeting these people, I know it's not true, and they're really precious people in my life.
No one's going to tell you that playing a Tchaikovsky symphony or a Beethoven symphony is going to bring world peace. That would be naive and indeed stupid, right? What I think Divan does, I mean, the power of Divan, for me anyway, is about the fact that you think about people in a different way. So, for example, normally I would think about my enemy, quote unquote, in a negative fashion, which is to say that I want them out of my life, I want them dead, etc., right? But in Divan, I mean, my sound partner is an Israeli, and I want him to play well. Now, this sounds like a tiny point. It sounds like somewhat, I mean, it sounds insignificant, but actually I think it's a big deal because you're trying to think about someone who is ostensibly against you in a positive way.
If I've taught them one thing, it is never to play without thinking. Not to look for comfort, not to look for the line of least resistance.
I was anxious to understand how the East-Western Divan Orchestra is faring in this time of crisis. The following statement by Maestro Barenboim on the orchestra's website clarifies his stance. Quote, in October 2023, I wrote, are we now going to surrender to this terrible violence and let our quest for peace die, or are we going to continue to insist that there must and can be peace? And right now, we must all see the human being in others. More than 19 months later, we are devastated by the tens of thousands of innocent victims claimed by the atrocious ongoing war on Gaza. I condemn this war in the strongest possible terms, and I also condemn the escalating acts of aggression and violence between Israel, Iran, and the USA at the expense of civilian population. My thoughts are with the students of the Barenboim Said Academy and the musicians of the West-Eastern Divan Orchestra, their families and friends. Both the Academy and the Divan Orchestra are more important today than ever as institutions where young musicians from Israel, Palestine, Arab countries, Iran and Turkey can freely express themselves while hearing and accepting the narratives of others. Both institutions are humanistic and educational initiatives fostering dialogue, critical discourse, and empathetic listening are among the young people from seemingly irreconcilable backgrounds, particularly Israel and Palestine. Today, it takes not only talent, but courage to study and work here. Our institutions cannot function without mutual respect, the fight against ignorance, and the promotion of a vision of justice and equality. All of this alongside artistic excellence. Yes, we are going to continue to insist there must and can be peace. I call for an immediate end to the fighting and for a path towards a just and lasting solution to this conflict. I admire the achievements of the Academy's students and graduates over the past semesters and congratulate them all warmly. I look forward to meeting the members of the West-Eastern Divan Orchestra again in October for rehearsals and concerts. Daniel Barenboim, Berlin, 24th of June, 2025. Unfortunately, the catastrophe besetting the Palestinians of Gaza will not be solved by Arab and Israeli musicians sharing the concert stages of the world, while a wickedly complex armed struggle continues to rage. But their musical collaboration sparked the fundamental understanding that we are all equal human beings. And this is the message that must cut through. I do believe that Templars have a great talent for merging their individual abilities to bring about a shared purpose. We are motivated by common goals, and the energy from our general members, focus groups, our elders, our youth groups, and wonderful staff members do drive these goals forward. But sometimes collaboration just takes time. Eventually, something better is created than any one of us could achieve alone. Collaborative enterprises for our community's benefit began in Germany, then continued to be realized in the establishment of colonies in Palestine through construction, through publications, our spiritual support, recreation, catering, travel, gardens, annual events, and so much more. All these, of course, continue today. I could name many Templars who are natural and generous collaborators in the enterprises I just mentioned, but we'll also acknowledge others who collaborate less regularly and still come together when they can, with a sense of shared purpose and mutual respect. The importance of collaboration is that it nurtures mutual respect, and this gives rise to the hope for peace. Thank you for sharing those thoughts today, and finally, closing together with these short prayers for peace now. A prayer arising from Salam, the Arabic greeting. Remembering recent Salam greetings exchanged, may I cultivate stillness within by acknowledging our shared humanity. Let Salam bring tranquility to my interactions. A prayer for Shalom in Hebrew, peace and wholeness. In moments of profound wholeness, may I recall the blessings and experiences that bring completeness to my life. Even a small taste of inner shalom brings harmony and coherence. To end, music in a very different style, composed by my brother living in Canada, Phil Hoffmann. We listened to his The Slow Drag Rag with his permission and blessing. I guess he collaborated with his guitar to achieve it. I hope you like the music. Goodbye.